She learned from an Israeli diplomatic protest. Her resignation letter was written that same night. The Foreign Office was blindsided. The intelligence community was blindsided. Even David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, had no idea what was coming, and then came Netanyahu's counterstrike. Lammy was mid-flight to Tel Aviv when Israeli authorities pulled his landing clearance. The plane turned around over the Mediterranean. Flight tracking apps caught it all. A foreign secretary of a G7 nation rejected in real time. Diplomats are calling it unprecedented, humiliating, a message sent loud enough for the entire world to hear. That night, Netanyahu appeared before cameras, flanked by his security cabinet. 9:00 p.m. Jerusalem time. His words were surgical. A nation that abandons its allies in their hour of need should not expect friendship in return. Within hours, Israel suspended intelligence sharing frameworks worth billions. Mossad sources now classify British officials as security risks. Senior Israeli figures say the breach is permanent, irreversible. Those aren't just words, they're policy, and here's where this gets terrifying. Israeli intelligence has stopped 17 planned terror attacks on British soil. That pipeline just went dark. Israeli cyber firms protect critical British infrastructure, energy grids, financial systems. That protection is being withdrawn. Defense partnerships valued at £12 billion are unraveling at speed, and families who once relied on joint counter-terror programs are staring at a gap that cannot be filled. Michael Green knows this better than most. Israeli intelligence filed a kidnapping plot against his daughter 3 years ago. He credits that collaboration and with saving her life. That collaboration no longer exists. From Westminster Star framed this as moral leadership, Britain taking a stand, Britain teaching lessons, but former MI chief Sir Alex Younger calls it the worst foreign policy decision since Suez. Lord Robertson warns Britain has just lost its most valuable intelligence partner in the region. These are not partisan voices. These are the people who built the system Stara just dismantled, and it gets worse. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, partners in the Abraham Accords, have quietly expressed sympathy with Israel's position. In a closed Gulf Cooperation Council session, ministers reportedly asked whether Britain's security guarantees still mean anything. Jordan is asking the same. Arab diplomats say decades of relationship building have been shredded in a single news cycle. London now finds itself distrusted by Arabs and Israelis simultaneously. A two-front diplomatic disaster. Markets moved instantly. The pound dropped against the shekel. £30 billion in bilateral trade is now in question. British firms are being cut from Israeli tech consortia online. In the hashtag Britain betrays as allies is surging on British streets. Jewish communities are asking a simple, chilling question. Without Israeli intelligence, who keeps us safe? Inside number 10, panic is replacing policy. Defense Secretary John Healey called the decision strategically suicidal during a Cobra meeting. Home Secretary Ayat Cooper was overheard warning colleagues, "We've made Britain a target without protection." WhatsApp groups inside the National Security Council now have names like Foreign Policy Disaster. No one is debating whether this was a mistake. They're debating how catastrophic it is. And then the leak. MI5 assessments now circulating warn that Iranian proxies are already probing for gaps created by the intelligence freeze. These reports point to planned operations timed specifically to Britain's new blind spots. Think about that. British lives at risk because of a gesture sold at moral clarity. Rishi Sunak sees the opening. He's positioning himself as the restoration candidate. Britain stands with its democratic allies or it stands alone when he says, and the polling reflects the shift. Conservatives surging into the 50s, Labour collapsing into the teen, national security has become a bleeding wound. The next 72 hours will determine whether Britain can function without Israeli inputs. Agencies must rewire threat-sharing protocols or accept a dangerous blackout. Parliament is being pushed toward an emergency vote while every alert system flashes red, and in Washington, officials are quietly reassessing Britain's place in the intelligence hierarchy. The Five Eyes Alliance, the world's tightest intelligence network, depends on trust. That trust is now wobbling. American officials are watching this meltdown with barely concealed fury. The CA depends on the British-Israeli intelligence triangle to track threats across the Mediterranean. That network just fractured. One senior American source said it bluntly, if forced to choose between London and Jerusalem, we already have. Former CIA Director Mike Pompeo went further. Britain is choosing irrelevance over influence. For a nation that prides itself on global leadership, those words cut deep inside NATO. France is doubting Britain's staying power. Poland, relying on British security guarantees, is asking privately, would they abandon us too? These questions are being whispered in every capital that once trusted the UK without hesitation. And then there's the money. Israeli venture capital has frozen British investments overnight. £4 billion in tech partnerships being shifted to American firms. The City of London, long a magnet for Israeli listings, is hemorrhaging credibility. Life sciences collaborations, cancer research, pharmaceutical partnerships evaporating. Analysts project losses exceeding £100 billion across biotech, cyber, and defense sectors. Britain's economic arteries are clotting under self-inflicted damage. Meanwhile, inside Israel, consequences are immediate and personal. British students expelled from university programs, joint research labs shuttered, journalists from London denied entry to press briefings. The British Embassy in Tel Aviv, once a hub of cooperation, is now effectively frozen out. A senior diplomat said it plainly. This isn't retaliation, it's demonstration. Israel is showing the world what happens when trust breaks. The security implications stretch beyond economics. Without Israeli intelligence, Britain's ability to track Iranian nuclear development collapses. Hezbollah movements in Syria vanish from radar. Hamas financing networks inside Europe slip through untouched. ISIS affiliates once traced by Israeli cyber surveillance reappear in the shadows. The gap cannot be patched. Not by America, not by Europe. Britain has blinded itself voluntarily in one of the world's most dangerous theaters. Defense contractors are recalculating risk. Lockheed Martin is reviewing Britain's role in the F-35 program. Rafael Advanced Defense Systems has canned procurement deals worth billions. Israeli cybersecurity firms are pulling protection from British energy grids and financial systems. The message is brutal and unmistakable. Britain cannot be trusted with security cooperation. All of this lands hardest where it hurts most, the people. Israel's Iron Dome technology shields British bases in Cyprus. Its intelligence networks protect British shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. MSAD counterterrors in Europe have saved untold British lives. Strip those layers away and Britain stands exposed. One defense analyst put it simply, Starmer traded security for applause. At home, the Jewish community feels the chill first. Synagogues that relied on Israeli security advice are suddenly alone. Schools once guided by Israeli protection experts are reviewing every measure. Community leaders describe a wave of anxiety unseen in decades. Immigration inquiries to Israel and the United States are spiking. The chief rabbi has called an emergency meeting. The message among British Jews is devastatingly simple. The government has abandoned us. And as that fear spreads, Europe watches nervously. France questions British reliability within NATO. The Baltic states, ever wary of Moscow, wonder if Britain would fold under pressure the way it did with Israel. Secretary-General Mark Rutte has reportedly expressed concern about London's commitment to Allied defence. Britain risks standing alone, not through isolationism, but through their competence. So the question becomes unavoidable. Can Keir Starmer repair this? Can he undo an expulsion unprecedented in diplomatic history? Or has he condemned Britain to years of strategic irrelevance, cut off from intelligence, influence, and trust? The government insists dialogue continues. Israeli officials insist it does not. Between those claims lies the truth. A Britain suddenly smaller, weaker, and more uncertain than at any time in living memory. And here's the most frightening part. The crisis is still unfolding. Tomorrow's emergency intelligence briefing may reveal the full scale of what Britain can no longer see. The threat's now invisible because the government silenced its partners. In this new reality, ignorance isn't just dangerous, it's fatal. This story is developing by the hour. If you want real, real-time updates as this crisis deepens. Subscribe and turn on notifications, and drop a comment below. Do you think Starmer can fix this, or is Britain's credibility shattered beyond repair? Let me know your thoughts.